crafters! Today we're going to learn how to wax our pine needle crafts with beeswax. Preheat your oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Fill a pot with water. Turn on your stove. You want to bring the water to a simmer. Place a second, smaller container in the pot. This is what we're going to melt the beeswax in. You can see it's a little bit immersed in the water, but you don't want water getting into the beeswax. I recommend getting pellets over the block because it's a little tedious slicing little pieces off the block. Be careful when you're doing this. I also recommend sourcing from a beekeeper if you can. You know, a local one would be awesome. I got this from a beekeeper off Etsy though. Next we're gonna take our shavings or pellets and we're gonna add them to our little container. You'll need more or less depending on your basket. You can always add more and melt. Once this is simmering, the beeswax will melt really fast. Today I'll be waxing this little cactus handle basket and this rose quartz pentacle. I have an example of a basket that's already been waxed because I wanted to give you a warning that if you used white yarn, the yellow golden beeswax, it's going to discolor the white yarn some. I honestly think that's fine if you're going for a rustic look, but I do think there is more processed beeswax that's lighter, so that could be an option you can look into. You can use a paintbrush that you don't care about to apply the wax. This is what I used on this one, and I tried so hard to get the wax out of the paintbrush. I feel like it's really stiffened the brush, kind of like how it stiffened the basket. You could also try using a silicone basting brush. Today we're going to use that just to see if it's easier than the paintbrush. You can see that the wax has melted. It is very hot. Be very careful not to get it on your skin or it'll leave a really bad burn. And I've got my stuff on parchment paper because that's also what we're going to be using to bake it in the oven. Here's the brush. I wish I had two hands so I could hold the basket directly over this and like immediately get wax onto the basket because the wax cools off fast and then starts hardening. But let's see how the basting brush goes. Maybe if the bristles are a little warm too. If I just leave it in there for like... Okay, and then you're just gonna brush it on. And I can already tell you this silicone basting brush is easier to use than the paintbrush. And you can see it starts hardening onto the yarn like immediately. So I recommend holding it directly over, being careful not to get it on yourself, and really just trying to get it into the pine needles. But don't worry that it's just on the yarn because once we put it in the oven, it'll start melting and then start melting into the pine needles. So you can see how ugly it looks right now, and you also want to coat the inside too, and don't forget the lid. And I'm just careful to avoid getting wax on the topper. The reason I go ahead and attach the topper before waxing is because, you know, I like to weave the threads through the pine needles, get it all as secure as I can by putting the thread, weaving it into the pine needles basically. And after your basket is waxed, that'll be like honestly kind of difficult to do because like this is kind of hardened now, and you know, you might honestly break it trying to push a darning needle through those. Even a small darning needle, that's what I use to attach the toppers. So yeah, just be careful if you do have a cute crochet topper on your basket. But yeah, I just feel the need to like get everything as secure as possible because I will be selling these on Etsy. Also, when a bunch of gunk ends up dried and hardened on your brush, I just like to take a little, you could use a chopstick. This is like some kind of wooden skewer, and just start brushing it back into this to remelt it. You also can just set this in here like this, and then the wax that hardened on it will start to slowly melt again. For the pentacle, I turned it from its pretty like front rose quartz side to the back, and I'm going to test out just applying it around the back as much as I can, and we're going to see if that hardens the ring enough in the oven. And here's how the basket is looking. So my oven never actually says that it's preheated, but we're gonna pop this in for 10 minutes, check it, and flip the basket. Alright, they've been in the oven for about 10 minutes, so now I'm gonna flip them over. Some chopsticks will work good, some ones that you don't care about. I'm using this stick here. And then I am a little conflicted about this one, but we'll flip it over and continue and just see how they are. And we're going to check them after another 10 minutes. Here's how it's looking after another 10 minutes. I'm just going to flip these again and try another 5 minutes, and then they'll probably be done. If you had leftover wax in your bowl, I recommend just covering this with something and saving it for next time you use it, just because beeswax is kind of expensive to be throwing away, in my opinion. After your baskets have cooled off, I would give it at least 10-15 minutes. You might notice like pokey parts, and you can just take a clean rag and gently start rubbing your basket all around with the rag. And then you'll see this is all the pieces I rubbed off with the rag. And there's our finished pine needle basket. Oh my gosh. So cute. And here's the pentacle. I'll be posting these on my Etsy. I hope you like this tutorial, crafters. Please like the video if you did, and keep crafting!